I'm deglazing, removing the glass and the paint from this wooden window sash. To do that, I'll use a scraper. It has a sharp single bevel edge and a slightly less than 90-degree angle. That helps me get into the corners. And I'm softening up the paint with the steamer. Right down here on the floor is my portable steaming unit, and that has a hose coming out of it, and the hose is connected to a steam head. I make these steam heads custom shaped out of vacuum system parts. This is a vacuum head, and I make a steam nozzle out of it. So that's a little bit of steam is coming out of there. It's not a blast of steam, just a slight amount. And I have the steam head shaped. Here you can see I've cut away a part of the steam head so that it fits down over the wood and glazing of the sash. So I just set the steam head on there and let it steam a little bit. I have the steam head right down tight on the glass, and that helps keep the steam off of the glass. If the glass is heated up in one spot too much, it could break. But usually we don't get glass breakage with the steam method. So that's been steaming for about a minute, and that paint is getting soft. Putty could use a little more steam. As the steam condenses on the surface, it releases a tremendous amount of heat, and that heat is conducted to the paint film by a little water that's condensing on the surface. So that heat is about 210 or 11 degrees Fahrenheit, just enough to soften the paint and make it easier to scrape away. Right, that putty is nice and soft now. See, it just scrapes right out. Now let's see how the paint is doing. Paint's coming off too, real nice. There's just the slightest residue of primer still left in the wood, and the wood is nice and smooth. No torn up grain, no wood damage. So that's a good sign for this method. Looks like it'll work pretty well on this sash. I'll just do the next section. Looks like it's taking about 1 to 2 minutes of steam to loosen this up. I think that's been about a minute. Okay, the putty's loose and the paint's good too. just getting a little tearing up of the grain of the wood here, so I'm going to be real careful. I think the grain is rising to this surface, so if I scrape in the other direction, if I scrape in this direction, it'll be less likely to rough up that grain. But you can see with this method, there's no struggle. Just softens everything up just enough that it comes off pretty easy. Now I think I was actually steaming for about 1.5 minutes on that last section. So on this one I'll just try steaming for 1 minute. That might help prevent that wood surface scruffing up like that. All right. Well, that's soft enough for the putty at less than 1 minute. And the paint as well. So a little shorter steaming time means less likely to have wood surface damage. If I do get wood surface damage where it scruffs up the wood, I'll let it dry out completely and then come back and just do a little scraping, and those wood fibers will harden back up and scrape right off. Alright, I've got the glass out. I've removed all the exterior paint down to bare wood and cleaned out the glazing rabbit. And that took, let's see, I'll just check the time, 5:39 to 6:10. 31 minutes to deglaze, get the glass out, and remove most of the exterior paint. And then from 6:10 to 6:19, that's 9 more minutes, 40 minutes total, to do a final cleanup on the exterior wood and the glazing dado. And I did that with the vacuum scraper. It has a sharp steely edge and a hollow handle that's attached by a hose to a heap of vacuum. So that's a real nice scraper just to do that final cleanup, because it's a dry process, so it's good to catch all that fine lead-containing dust. The Pro Scraper. If you've been to my training sessions and workshops, you've seen that in action. On the interior face of the sash, at this lower joint, here's this vertical stile and the horizontal rail of the sash, there's peeling paint going just a little bit up the stile and along the rail. So that's caused by water getting in the joint and soaking into the end grain and then coming back out through the surface of the wood and the paint peeling off down to bare wood. Now all across the interior face of the rail, the paint is also alligatored. You can see cracks in the paint film that go all the way down to the wood surface. But elsewhere on the sash, the paint is in pretty good condition. Now the philosophy on this project is less is more. If I strip off all of this paint in good condition, we'll just leave it there and just renew the paint where it's peeling and deteriorated by alligatoring. So the treatment is to remove all of the paint for the lower few or several inches of the stile and all of the paint across the entire rail. And we use the same methods steam, and a special scraper. I think you'll be able to see this scraper has I've ground an edge on it that's profiled to match the profile of the molding on the edge of the sash. That makes cleaning up that profile go a lot quicker. I grind that custom profile on there with the Dremel grinder. Takes about a half an hour to match a profile. Okay, that paint's coming off really good where it was already peeling, but I think I'll take off a little more up here. So that'll just take a little more steaming. I'll just check that. Nice and soft now. Now I'm going to be careful not to scrape down into this area that I had already scraped and gave some more steam, because that steam will have softened up the wood, and if I scrape it, it'll scruff up the wood surface and pull out the grain. So I'm only going to scrape where there's been paint. Okay, it goes right down to bare wood real nice. I just scraped so it feathers up into this buildup of paint here. And now cleaning off the molding. Pretty good. I'll just continue that all the way around the sash. Oh, no, not all the way around the sash. Here I'm leaving the paint. I'll continue that across the bottom rail right here. Okay, that took 12 minutes to clean off that paint on the exterior face of the rail and just a few inches up the stiles. And there's just a couple last details that I want to show you for this cleanup. One is here, right here along the margin of the face of the stile. That's where the stop or the parting bead runs. And I want to clear off this paint here at the margin because it may contain lead, and I don't want that lead to be dusting off through abrasion once this sash is back in service. So I just scrape off that edge of paint. And another detail was right along here, this band of the molded edge where there's a molded profile. The part of the molding next to the glass is flat and it's called the band. So I scraped the paint off the band where it was loose. And on this side it was mostly loose all the way across the band. And then the rest of the way around the sash, I just scraped off a little bit of the band down to bare wood, right near the glazing rabbet, because I want good primed paint on bare wood for the glazing to come on this. So with those last two details of scrape and prep, this sash is now ready for painting and glazing. The total time for deglazing, taking out the glass, taking all of the paint off the exterior, taking some of the paint, about 30% of the paint off the interior face of the sash, took 52 minutes. So that's ready for painting and glazing.